Apparently, there's a possibility of esports, i.e. competitive gaming, being in the 2024 Olympics. And if you ask me, that's pretty fucking stupid, and I'll explain why. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm gonna say that I have nothing against esports or competitive gaming. I think it's all fine and dandy. Let me also say that I don't give a shit about the Olympics. So if esports does end up making it in, then I'm in no way affected. But why this is even being considered makes no sense to me. I know esports takes a lot of skill and not everybody can do it, but I'd argue that they require far less skill than any other sport currently in the Olympics. Look, if I was put in a scenario where I had to beat the best player in the world of any video game, or win an Olympic gold medal within the next 4 years in any event, but if I lose, then I'd have to let Cisco bare-ass spray fart on my face every night before I go to bed for the rest of my life, then I'd choose any video game on the planet over any sport. Because my odds for success would be far greater and actually reachable, albeit still very difficult and unlikely. I'd imagine that esports in the Olympics wouldn't have set games since the competitive gaming scene changes so frequently. It's not like all these other sports that have been the same for up to hundreds of years. Also, training for other sports is pretty fucking miserable. Practicing for a game would be fun, and it's not like you could get injured or have any setbacks. Like I said, I know gaming requires a lot of skill, but there's no way in hell that I'd ever have a chance at competing in the Olympics for any physical event against athletes that have been working their whole lives to acquire the skill they possess. Most games that are in the competitive scene today are relatively new, and I'd at least have a shot at catching up with everybody else if I made it my life's goal. Skateboarding's gonna be in the 2020 Olympics, which I still think is silly, even though I'm one of the greatest skateboarders to have ever lived, as evidenced by these groundbreaking stunts you're witnessing right now. But even though I don't consider skateboarding a sport, it is at least athletic, and it is a sport in the same sense that gymnastics is. It's difficult to judge since a lot of it is subjective, but there is a lot of physicality involved, so I can at least understand why skateboarding's gonna be an event. But even though I already know how to skateboard, I'd still choose gaming over that in the implausible but all too realistic Cisco scenario I presented earlier. To be honest, I'd probably still fail, but even if you hate everything that I'm saying right now, you have to admit that it'd be way more possible for me to succeed at esports on an Olympic level than even something like sailing. Also, by definition, both sports and being an athlete require physical activity. The argument being made is that competitive gamers' eyes move very fast, which is a bit of a stretch, but I'll give it to them. So I guess it can technically count as a sport since moving your eyes is physical. After all, shooting's in the Olympics, and while that is more athletic than chess, I'd argue that if esports are being considered for the Olympics, then why not chess? The brain is a physical part of your body that can be improved through use and training. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but so is the eye speed thing. Chess is at least a set activity and something that's been played for over 1,000 years. I'm sure it'd take me decades of practice to even have a chance at competing against the best chess players in the world as opposed to getting good at a video game that might not even be out yet. While I acknowledge that eye movement does count as physical activity, the possibility of somebody like this being considered an Olympic athlete is hilarious to me, and when I say hilarious, I don't mean that in an angry way. I really would love it if this guy were an Olympic champion and considered a premier athlete. Car racing's somehow considered a sport, but even that isn't in the Olympics despite being around much longer than video games and requiring the same amount of physical activity. Maybe that was disqualified since drivers shitting their pants during a race isn't really all that uncommon. Who knows though, maybe an esports athlete will empty their ass during an intense match every now and then and ruin it for everybody. But don't get me wrong though, I'm not saying competitive gamers look like this or are even unhealthy. I'm not ignorant, but winning an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck wouldn't be as cool if Street Fighter the movie The Game were an official event. And how many countries would even be able to compete? Aren't the Olympics supposed to represent countries from all over the world? What about countries where the average person is just trying to survive and video games aren't even an option? I'd be happy for the North Koreans to be able to play video games at least, because you know Kim Jong-un's fiending for gold medals and would let his people give it a try. I'm not exactly sure why esports are even being considered in the first place. Maybe since McDonald's, who for some reason sponsors the Olympics, wants Olympians actually eating their food. But my guess would be that esports are being added to garner more interest. And with competitive gaming making as much money as it does, I guess we shouldn't be all that surprised that it's being considered for an Olympic event. It definitely garner more interest, and the Olympics have seen some pretty silly things come and go over the years anyway. And I do have to clarify that as of this video, esports are not an official Olympic event. Personally, even though I think it's silly, I really don't care if it does make it in. If gamers can make money, then more power to them. And if the decision were up to me, I'd say fuck it, let esports be in the Olympics. I just can't honestly say that they should be in there. Either way, I won't watch the Olympics, although I do admit I'd be a little more curious to check it out if esports were involved. Not because I like video games, but because I'd be curious to see how it plays out. If video games were around hundreds of years ago, then people probably would have been considering it as well. But they didn't have video games back then, so what else were you gonna do besides play sports? Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of competitive gaming being considered for the Olympics. Also, I'd be curious to know what you'd choose in the Cisco scenario. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe if you're new. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.